again. Um, going over some more questions that our Britain's bullpen 8U up through 16, 17U guys have asked. And like we talked before a little bit, your playing experience, man, your baseball career path is really neat because it covers every level. I mean, it's from little league to the big leagues to independent baseball to down in Australia. I mean, just down in Australia to Korea, right? It was Korea for a little bit.
Yeah, I was in Korea for a little bit. We had spring training in Japan, so we played a bunch of Japanese teams over there. Mexico, Dominican, Venezuela. Pretty much you name it, I've been there.
Yeah, dude, and that is don't get me wrong, like everybody wants to be I wanted to be a 15-year career big league veteran, but what you end up finding out is as you're done playing baseball and that, like, the experiences in the places that baseball got to take you, it's taking you around the world, man. And it's just such a I'm pumped for you, man, to have any kind of baseball career whatsoever, regardless of how old you are. You're extremely fortunate to have as a person, but to get a chance to, and I got to see all. I got a chance to have some really, really, really neat opportunities.
Right.
But,
yeah.
But man, I'm so envious of you, man, because getting to play in. Have you counted how many countries you've played in?
I have no idea. I need to, but I have no idea.
That's gonna be cool for you to count up, man, because
right.
I've got on a tack board how many states I've played in, but dude, you've probably played just in about as many countries. There's a lot of countries you've been in and traveled around to, so that's pretty cool, man. I have to assume, I'm going to let you answer this. I have to assume I know the answer, but where was your most favorite place to play?
As far as country, state,
if you could go right here, right now, today, go back in time, the best place you've ever played baseball.
I'm probably going to go to Busch Stadium. Just unbelievable atmosphere. Just the fans. More than 40,000 people at every game screaming for you. Just unbelievable atmosphere. If not that, when I broke with the team in the big leagues in Pittsburgh, first game, opening day, just standing on the line, the airplanes flying over, just the chills you get. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, man. I could only imagine. I've seen some flyovers, man, but ain't nothing gonna be compared to bringing out the Clydesdales and the flyovers and the.
Right, exactly.
Opening day at Busch Stadium it's a whole nother level, man.
Unbelievable.
Whole nother level. That's awesome. So aside from Busch Stadium in St. Louis, where would be? Let's go away from Major League Baseball. Where would be the next favorite baseball experience or place to play, city, town?
I'm probably gonna say Australia. It wasn't super different than what I'm used to over here. Just the atmosphere, as far as being a completely different country, super far away. Where we were staying at, just the location, it was unbelievable. But then on the other side, when we were spring training, when I was playing in Korea, we were actually spring training in Japan and Okinawa. That was just it was just mind blowing with how different everything was. You don't understand what anybody's saying. There were probably 5 people over there that I could talk to, 2 others of which were teammates, and then our translator. So just that atmosphere was completely different and just nothing like I've ever experienced before. So I'd say that's probably it.
Yeah, man, that'd be awesome to experience for sure, man. That it is, and the interactions and the stories and people you met along the way. I'm very envious of it, man. I'm excited that it's an awesome career path.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. We're gonna get to Trevor Toole. All right. What are some things Jeremy did as a high school student to prepare for the future? I'm gonna say academic future and athletic future. Let's get them both knocked out.
Yeah. So academically, um, I was a pretty good student because I didn't think that my baseball career was going to go far at all. Nobody from my high school had played professional baseball. A couple guys that went to college to play, but I didn't think that was in the cards for me. I had raw talent, but I wasn't super skilled. You know, I was just tall, athletic. And that was it. Got lucky that three colleges looked at me. One I picked, which was Ball State. Um, but yeah, I wasn't the best by any means. So, for me, it wasn't always baseball. It was, I'm going to have to find a career. I'm going to have to find a job. It's the real world, which, um, I was preparing for academically the entire time. And that takes just as much for me. I'm not gifted. I'm not a super smart guy by any means. So that took as much preparation and work as baseball did. Uh, but yeah, that's hitting the books all the time. But then baseball came into play. So there were times that, because we didn't have lights at our field in high school, there are times that we're playing until we just can't see the ball anymore. If I got home before dark, my mom, she'd ask me what I was doing. But I got home, I ate, and then straight to schoolwork. So there was really no time in there for really anything else. It was sports, school, and that's all it was for me.
Yeah, right on, man. That makes sense. I mean, that's the very, very seldom do you see guys get to a collegiate level, especially, but in no doubt on the professional side, very few guys get there by not taking care of both of those. And really,
Right.
I mean, you don't have much time for it. That's why they tell you enjoy the time as a kiddo, because if you get real good and you figure out you're good or that you got a chance, you're bought in 100%. And
Yeah, absolutely.
there's all kinds of sacrifices that go into that. So
Yeah, sure are.
Xander Willis got a great question. What does Jeremy do different that separates himself from everybody else?
I would say, just like I was saying earlier, my work ethic coming up was like nobody else. I worked. I was the hardest worker on every team that I think I've been on. That's my opinion, of course, but I think there are a lot of people that would say that as well. Um, my mom saying or asking me why I'm home before dark, in high school, because I'm just always getting work in. Same thing in college. It's always extra work. Can I get extra ground balls because I used to be an infielder? Can I get extra ground balls? Can I work on my double plays? Extra work in the cage. There's always something else you can do. There's something else I could do. And I was a guy that knew if I wanted to get to the next level, I had to do it because I was athletic, but I wasn't as gifted as these other guys. So I had to work, and I knew that. And I think that's what a lot of kids nowadays have to understand is, you're not going to get anything just given to you. You have to work for what you want. And that goes for baseball and outside of baseball. You have to work for, everything.
So let me ask you this question to go along. If you were a scout watching yourself play, what kind of report would you want to give yourself? I mean, so that's my question. So if you go back and you watch Jeremy Hazelbaker play, as a high school player, as a summer ball player,
Yeah.
what kind of notes what kind of notes are you going to give yourself? If you're the scout and you can go back, what kind of player were you then?
I tell you, I guess for me being a scout for myself, I would say that I need to work on my attitude, and that was something, I was always super tough on myself, and I got frustrated when things didn't go my way, and that was the nature of the beast for me. That's how I was, and I always took, I think, things too serious, and I know that people have told me that as far as just relaxing a little bit and playing and having more fun. So I think as a scout, that's one thing that would probably show up, or did show up even. Gets too frustrated or things like that. But as far as positives, you know, I'll say a kid's a bulldog. He works hard. He grinds out at bats. He makes plays in the outfield. He dives all over. The kid that you could build a team around. Might not be the most talented, but he's a kid that's going to give you 100% all the time, no matter what. Anymore, you see kids that, or you see guys in the big leagues, and it trickles down. They don't run out a ground ball in the infield. They don't run it out. They just jog. And I was always the guy that ran everything out. I wanted the extra base, ground ball to an outfielder. I'm trying to get to second. That makes me look good. It makes the outfielder look bad. It's, that's the way it goes. And that's what I wanted to do. I thought of myself as a bulldog, and I think that, there were probably some scouts that thought that also.
Right on, man. I mean, you hear that a lot. You hear bulldog and you hear blue collar, like bulldog, blue collar, and then grinder. Like, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you just got to be a grinder. Somebody like who's a tough out. Somebody that's always a competitor. Somebody looking to take an extra. Always looking to take what somebody's giving you. And like you say, man, like there's. Yeah, I mean, it's a sellout. It's a mindset. It is a. I mean, if you go back and watch Pete Rose play, like the dude was an absolute. It's awesome watching him play, man, because he took every single inch that they gave him. Every inch.
He did.
All right, you ready for this one?
Hit me with it.
Brantley Krupp wants to know what's his favorite part about making it to the big leagues.
Telling my family.
Yeah,
there were. I had a longer journey to the big leagues than a lot of people. I got released. I got a chance by one team, got lucky, and ended up making it to the big leagues. And there were very few people that over the years, all the years, that stayed with me, that stayed, behind me, had my back the entire time. And of course, my family was, they were there the entire time. So those phone calls, sharing the first game in the big leagues, my first AB, the first game at Busch Stadium, every first experience with my family, that's the biggest thing that, and the most, I think, enjoyable thing that I experienced.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I can only imagine it. Brantley Krupp's got a follow-up question.
Hi, Brantley.
And it's I mean, it's another good one. And Brantley, mind you, is on our 8U team.
Oh, so, wow.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like our guys, they've rolled out some great questions. Brantley would like to know if baseball was always his favorite sport, or did he play or like other sports growing up?
Brantley, another good question. Baseball is always my favorite sport. I played basketball. Being from Indiana, it seems like almost every kid does. But I played basketball, and again, same with basketball. I wasn't the best. I was just athletic and worked hard, which made me pretty good. But as far as something that I really invested all my time into, all my effort into, it was always baseball.
So here's my next question, and we get this. This is an interesting question because you see conflicts all the time. So you play how many How many sports? Play baseball and basketball? Did you play those in high school?
Yeah.
Did you play? Did you run track or do football or anything else?
High school didn't have a football team, so I always wanted to, but we couldn't play for another school. That's a thing now, but school was just so small we couldn't do that. I ran track for a little while, just wasn't that good at it, so that ended up conflicting with other sports. So it was just baseball, basketball.
So how did you? I'm going to ask this question for our high school kids. We've got high school basketball players and we got high school baseball players. And what we'll get into is we will get into and football players for that matter too.
Yeah.
And baseball being a summer sport, and especially on the traveling side of it, there's when we take off, there's 5 or 6 weekends we'll travel playing some tournaments, some exposure tournaments, and a lot of our guys are wanting to play college baseball, so we're trying to help them. We're trying to help them get through that process and understand it and learn as much about it as we can. What kind of advice would you give a high school player who has football workouts, who has basketball workouts, and has baseball workouts, all three pulling on the same player in different directions at the same time?
That's a really good question. I personally would say do everything you can. And I think I'm not sure you'd say the same thing also, but being at the end of my career, I'm so glad that I played basketball. I wish there would have been football that I could have done that, because if I would have just secluded myself to one avenue and just done one thing, I would have missed out on a lot. I think that basketball in a way helped me, because we did a lot of training, a lot of speed, a lot of agility, which it really helped me for baseball. Being an infielder, you got to have good footwork around second base, turning double plays at first base, good footwork, quick first step in the outfield, pitchers, good footwork again. So that's with football also. You're gonna get better at baseball physically if you do other things. If you're just trying to put yourself in one avenue and just say, all right, baseball's it, baseball's all I'm going to do, I really think people will end up regretting that.
Yeah, you see it. We see it. We see it all the time. Guys will he's just playing baseball this year. It's like, man, he's only 10. There's so much development that needs to go on to even have a chance. And that's the thing that those other sports, like baseball, if I'm a hitter and I rotate and hit and I rotate and hit, and if I don't do something to get going the other way, my body's going to end up twisting like a pretzel, and then I'm not going to have that range and twist to my backside that maybe go can ball. So playing especially when you're younger, man. Now, I understand when we tell guys is if guys really get locked in and play as many sports as you can until I tell guys, if you can get to your junior year and then you figure out, hey, you know what, basketball is not my deal. Like,
right.
Okay. If that's what I tell guys, hey, I would give it a shot. I would try to do it as long as you can. Here's my next question though. When say, and it makes zero difference the sport, but you've got 3 sports with an activity going on at the same time. I'm talking in the summer. And this is a question for our high school kids, because I'll get this. We got high school basketball coaches that will want their basketball players at their summer team functions on a Thursday. Well, if we take off and we've got a practice or a ball game on that Thursday, or maybe it's a 7-on-7 football, what kind of advice would you have for high school baseball players who have goals of playing college baseball? What kind of advice would you give them to approach that situation? Like, hey, you've got to pick one. How are you going to handle that?
That's tough, man. That's really tough, because there's going to be some coaches where it says it's one or the other, and that's, I think that's a terrible thing for a coach to do. And hopefully, anymore kids don't have that problem, but it's going to exist. But you have to be all in. You have to be able to invest everything you have. If you're wanting to play college ball and you are dead set on it, you just might have to take the political way to talk to your basketball coach and say, hey, I really want to play for you, but I have a game, on X, Y, and Z. That's a tough scenario, and you have to really tread lightly, because there's a good chance that you're probably going to upset some people. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. You're going to make some people upset when you have conflicts like that. You're not going to be able to make it to some games, some practices, but you do the best you can, and when you do it, you invest 100% of yourself into whatever you're doing.
Right on, man. I'm glad we got into that, because I get kids all the time, and not just guys that play for us, but guys, other spots or other teams, like, man, well, we've got this going. It's like, it really kind of depends on what you want out of it. Yeah. You're like, I've had football players like, hey, man, I really like chance, play some college football or some college basketball. Like, dude, if that's what you're really wanting to go do,
right, exactly,
and you need to go do that, and we'll clean it up on our end. But right. It's easy to do that with players that are 100% bought in, committed on their sport. They're not one to skip a baseball practice just because they think this may be more fun. That they live it, they breathe it, they talk it, and we know and respect what they're trying to accomplish and achieve. Because you only get one shot at your career, man. Like, you don't get to hit the rewind button. And so, I hate to handicap a kid and say, well, hey, no, if you miss one of our baseball practices for something that is more of a priority for you. Now, at the end of the day, every coach is wanting guys that are bought in and that want to be there better. I understand that for sure. For guys that come in from small towns like you and I think there's got to be some understanding there. And kids, I think kids have to have the courage to go in and talk to coaches too. I think kids get a little bit intimidated, and they will get afraid of reactions and responses. And because we're taught to respect coaches. We're taught to respect,
right,
and listen to our coaches. But good coaches are going to have the best interest of the player first before the best interest of themselves, I think, and that helps a lot of times. But I'm glad we got to that question, because that happens. It happens every summer, and
it definitely does.
Wrong, and it's not a good or a bad. It's just hey, what are you really wanting to do? Like, what's your plan? And if it comes down to A or B, and you're really focused on A, then you need to go do A today, and give your best effort and apologize, and then you have to accept the fact that if that's not good enough, then that's not good enough, and you'll have to live by it. But I don't know what else to tell guys, but we run into that a lot of times in the summer.
Yeah, the biggest thing I think is if it's going to be something like that where you split time between 2 sports, 3 sports, whatever it is, whenever you're there, you have to give 100% no matter where you're at. If he's committed to football, trying to get a football scholarship, but he wants to play a little bit of baseball also, okay, we can try to make that happen. But while you're with me, I need you give me everything you got. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, there's definitely some catch up and some makeup work for sure. So, Jeremy, hey, that's going to wrap it up for this round of questions. We've got a few more that we'll get to in our next set. But man, I appreciate the time again, man. We'll catch up soon.
Absolutely, good stuff, man.